Hello and welcome, fellow bookworms and film fans. Welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative, and we'll be looking at Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Now, this is obviously the film Blade Runner. Now, the book itself was published by Philip K. Dick in 1968, and the film Blade Runner was released in 1982. Now, the version of Blade Runner that I shall be comparing it to today is the final cut. So not the director's, not the theatrical, but the final cut. That's the one that I'm comparing it to. Now, I will always be scaling the adaptation on 5 major things: character representation, plot, setting, overall, is the film a good, does it stand in its own right, and overall, how does everything fit in together. Now, we will start, as we normally do, with character representation. Now, I'm only going to talk about 4 main characters because all the rest don't seem to go across to the film. It's almost like it's 2 completely different narratives this time round. So you've got so you've got Deckard. Now, in the book, he is married. He owns an electric sheep, believe it or not. He used to own a real one, and he dreams of owning another real animal, but in the book, unfortunately, he owns an electric sheep. He is also a bounty hunter, and his dream is to somehow own a real animal, all to himself. Now, in the film, he is alone, owns no animals, is a Blade Runner, who is somebody that retires replicants, androids. And I'm also just saying as well, straight up, so there's no argument, he is not a replicant, okay? If you think differently, leave below in the comments. But in my opinion, he is not a replicant. Again, my opinion. Now you come across Rachel. Now in the book, she is an android who is aware of who she is. She sleeps with the bounty hunters because she knows that they don't want to retire her afterwards because they've slept with her and they feel a bit of empathy towards her. She's attached to some sort of network as well. She's aware of the other androids within the city, as it were. She's very vindictive and petty, as is shown when she kills poor Deckard's goat when he finally is able to afford a real animal. In the film, she becomes aware of who she is through Deckard finding out who she is and applying the test. And then she has a relationship with Deckard and they end up running away together. Now you come across Pris, who is just an android who becomes almost friends with a human, and probably the most accurate representation. She's quite childlike. She actually feels a little bit for the human, but she's an android, so she can't feel real empathy. And this is pretty much spot on in the film and the book. Now you've got Roy. In the book, is the leader of the group of androids that have deserted Mars and come back to Earth. He's in a relationship with Ermengarde and is surprisingly easy to take out at the end of the book. However, this couldn't be further from the truth in the film. In the film, he's in a relationship with Pris, and he is a beast in the final fight between him and Deckard. And Deckard doesn't actually take him out in the final fight. He just comes to the end of his lifespan and dies naturally on the rooftop, covered in rain. Very poetic. Then, so that's basically the 4 characters. Now, they didn't bring as many characters from the book onto the film as they had. They did have a few original characters on screen. For the ones that you see represented even, can't even say that word, they took a whole new approach to, and therefore I think they lost a lot of the traits that were given to the characters in the book. So therefore my rating for character representation is a 2 out of 10. Now, the setting in both is set in a futuristic world, which was last year, I believe. However, in the book, it's about a war that's left Earth ravaged and covered in this dust that basically turns humans into specials. And so a lot of people have emigrated, so it's quite lonely as well. There's not a lot of the population left. And it's described as being a very dry and dusty place. Yet in the film, it looks like there's still overpopulation, which is why some of the population have gone off-world. And however, the atmosphere, it is completely raining. So basically a typical English day, and it's raining the entire time. So the settings are very different, and for that I give it a 2 out of 10. Now the plot, as again, this is almost like it was 2 completely different narratives. When I was reading the book, I feel like they only took 1 or 2 of the characters and a little bit of the plot. So I'll try and compare and contrast as best as I can with the plot of the film and the book. But as I said, because they're so different, there might be things that I miss out. So So the book starts with Deckard and his wife in a near empty apartment block talking about this equipment that helps your mood and your cravings. So you can dial it up so you can feel depressed, or you can dial it up so that you feel that you want to be in a pleasurable experience. You can dial it up so you want to eat, and it basically controls who you are. And the film starts with the replicant taking a test, failing, and then killing the person, which then brings Deckard into the story. Now, the one main thing that I feel like the film missed out on completely is that Deckard really wants a real animal. And this is a constant theme throughout the book. Constant theme. It's what pushes him to take out 6 replicants in a day, is that he wants the money to be able to afford a real animal. So in the book, the senior bounty hunter is taken out. It's still alive, but taken out, which means that Deckard is pulled in to retire 6 replicants with the Nexus 6 brain. The Nexus 6 brain is the most advanced brain at the moment, which means that they can think like humans and they're almost the same as humans, but the empathy test will still get them. So the chief of police seems very reluctant to let Deckard take this on, but he has to have them retired, and Deckard's the second in charge, basically. In the film, Deckard is pulled in and pretty much begged to take the case, even though he no longer works as a Blade Runner, and it's 4 instead of 6 replicants. Now, he goes to the Rosen headquarters in both, and that's who manufacture the Nexus 6, and he puts the niece of the man in charge through this empathy test, which confirms her to be an android. In the film, it comes as a huge shock. In the book, it almost seems like they knew already, which is why they were putting her through the test, to see if she could basically negate the test and they could keep the Nexus 6s out on the market. Now, obviously, that's Rachel that we're talking about there. So in the film, 2 of the replicants are chasing down leads to do with genetics so they can live longer than the 4 lives that are pre-programmed in all androids. And they're chasing it down, and it's Joe and Roy that are chasing down these leads to see where it leads. Pardon upon there. Now, we also follow a fellow in the book called J.R. Isidore. He appears in the book, but he doesn't appear in the film. He's classed as a special, or a chicken head, who is someone that's so affected by the dust after the war that he is no longer completely human and therefore unable to emigrate. But he is no longer able to hold down a proper job either. I think he ends up working for a company that pretends that they're real vets so they can deal with the mechanical animals. But he meets one of the Nexus 6 models. He meets Pris. Now, in the film, Pris goes to J.F. Sebastian's house because he is someone that could help them beat out the genetics where they have 4 years to live. In the film, she moves in with him, becomes a friend. But in the book, she moves in and Isidore basically pushes himself in and goes, you need a friend and everything like that. And she slowly warms to him, but she's an android, so she can't show too much love and affection. Now, in the book, the first replicant to be retired is Max. However, in the film, it's a female replicant. Deckard then goes after a second replicant at the Opera House in the book, who then turns him in because she calls up this police officer. The police come in, arrest him, and go off. Now, Deckard is convinced, because they're not going the way that he goes to work, is that he's going to end up being killed, because he's pretty much sure that this police officer is a replicant as well. And he knows Luba Luft is her name, is a replicant, but he's now just been arrested. So he's pretty sure that he's about to die. So so in the book, when he's trying to get the next replicant, he's escorted by an Officer Cram. The Deckard believes he's a replicant and ends up within the journey believing that it will be his last. Now, in the film, he's never really captured by anybody at any point, and he ends up in a relationship with Rachel as well, who is a replicant herself. Now, so in the book, he gets taken to an alternative police station that is full of androids. One of them is not aware that he is. Talk about that later, and helps Deckard escape. Now, while he's helping Deckard escape, he retires another one of the replicants that was on Deckard's list. So far, Deckard has taken out Max, and he is after Luba Luft, and his friend has just taken out another one. So as this person, Riche, I think his name is, helps Deckard escape. Now, in the book, Deckard and Riche take out another replicant. As I said, is the chief of police in this android part of the police station. And then Riche wants to take the test to see if he himself is a replicant. So he wants to take the empathy test because he wants to know if he's a replicant or if he's a human as they come. In the film, by this point, Deckard has killed one, and Rachel has saved his life by killing another one, which then leaves two that end up that leaves two that end up at J.F. Sebastian's that he ends up killing. So they do the empathy test after they've taken out Luba Luft. So they go and find her at the opera house. She's not there. They go to the museum. They escort her out. Riche kills Luba in the lift. Then when they get to the top, Deckard's just like, I felt empathy. I don't know why I felt empathy. He takes the test, realizes he's still human, but he's now feeling empathy towards the androids. Riche takes the test and realizes that he's human himself, and he's just enjoys killing, basically. Now, in the book, Pris lives below Isidore, and she seems really alone. But as I said, in the film, she's moved in Sebastian and is keeping him company till Max arrives. Not Max, sorry, till Roy. Max is dead. Till Roy arrives. Now, in the book, we finally hear the name Roy Batty. Now, he is almost what's known as sort of like the main replicant, the main Nexus 6, the one that's running and calling the shots there. In the film, we've already seen him many times. As I said, he's chasing up leads to try and sort out these genetics. And I believe in the film as well, they go and they manage to kill the head of the Rosen Corporation because of the fact that he can't help them save the genetics, which doesn't happen in the book. But as I said, it's like almost two completely different narratives. So the three remaining replicants in the book start to make their last stand in the apartment building that Isidore lived in and that Pris has moved into. And they wait for the bounty hunter to arrive. So they wait for Deckard to come to them. They don't know what his name is, but they wait for him. And Deckard wants to just stop. He's been there for 3, he's retired 3, he's got £3,000. He bought his little goat, his real goat, and he now just wants to rest for the day. But his boss tells him he has to go and finish the job and finish the last 3 replicants before they're able to run off. Now, in the film, Deckard has come across Sebastian's house, goes in, comes across Pris, kills her, and then ends up in a final confrontation with Roy. Now, Book Deckard eventually goes to bed with Rachel as well. And because Rachel then afterwards tries to get Deckard to kill her, Deckard doesn't kill her and goes off to kill the rest of the 3 remaining androids. Rachel is then petty and vindictive and runs off and kills Deckard's poor little goat, who's only been his for like an hour, if that. So Deckard doesn't go off. So Deckard doesn't kill her, but then goes off to kill the 3 remaining androids that are waiting out there. So he does that really easily. As he's going up, he gets told that there's somebody behind him by Mercer, who again is nowhere present in the film, but is sort of like a one brain that humans can hold into an empathy box, join and go through to prove that they're not alone in the world. I don't quite understand that bit of the book. If someone could explain it to me, please go ahead. I haven't got a clue. So in the book, he gets told that by this Mercer that appears out of nowhere that Pris is behind him. He turns around, kills her, really easy, goes upstairs, kills Ermengarde and kills Roy. Again, so easily done. In the film, there's this massive final showdown where Deckard's running from Roy. Roy's become almost inhuman. I mean, he is an android, but he's like making howling noises. You get like this crescendo of music. You know, they jump across a roof, and just as Deckard's about to die, Roy grabs onto his hand, pulls him up, gives him this lovely big speech, and then dies naturally on the rooftop, which is a completely different. So that's how the film ends, is with this big showdown. He kills Pris, he gets chased by Roy, Roy saves him, then dies naturally on the rooftop. He then runs off with Rachel, and I'm guessing they live happily ever after, because I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet. It is on my Netflix watch list, don't worry. Now, in the book, it ends with Deckard killing these 3, getting the bounty, going out into the middle of nowhere, finding this little toad, believing it to be a real live toad, takes it back to the flat, is really happy and excited, and then finds out that it's not, it's an electric toad. He's absolutely done, and he decides to just go to bed and sleep like a baby. And the wife then goes, do you know what, I'm gonna get some like electric flies and stuff, and basically we'll look after this toad together, which I think is quite cute. And so it ends like that. Now, the plot is hugely different. It's like they're two completely different narratives. You've got the book and you've got the film. They were both amazing narratives. The film is fantastic. The book is fantastic. I would recommend both to you at any point. But as you know, I look for similarities in the narrative in this bit, and if they're not there, they're not there. So they are few and far between. So I'm giving the plot a 3 out of 10 for this. Now, does the film stand in its own right? It is an absolute masterpiece by Ridley Scott. The visual aesthetic, the atmosphere is amazing. The score adds to the film itself. Some do say it's a little bit of a slow burn, but I absolutely love it. When it first came out of the cinemas, it was a bit of a flop, but now it's got a bit of a cult following there. I would definitely recommend watching it. It's beautifully done, absolutely lovely film. And I can understand the appeal of the film as well. So I would recommend this film to absolutely anybody, and therefore I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It would get a 10 out of 10, but sometimes it is a little bit too slow even for me. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, my husband adores this film. Michael loves this film. So he might look down on me for giving it a 9 out of 10, but I think that's a fair rating there. So overall, how well does the film represent the book? Now, as mentioned, the characters are vastly different. The plot is vastly different. The setting is vastly different. And I think the fact that it missed out on the whole owning a real animal that Deckard longs for throughout the entire book, and the whole reason why he keeps going, and the whole reason why he still takes out the androids, I think that could have done with being entered into it. And I feel sorry for Deckard, because I feel like he was given a bit of a bum rap, because he had a sheep, then it died, so he got an electric sheep, and then he got a goat, and that got pushed off a roof, and then he found a toad thinking it was real, and then that turns out to be electric. So but I feel like they could have added a little bit of that in, and I'm a bit upset that they didn't. But as I said, the film and the book are both beautiful in their own right. However, how well the film actually took from the book is not actually that close at all. So what I'm going to do is that final rating is a 3 out of 10 for me. Now, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, please do leave it below in the comments. If there are any book to film adaptations that you want me to have a look at, I do have a bit of a list. I am working through it as quickly as I can, but do leave that again below in the comments. Don't forget to click subscribe as well, so you can be alerted whenever a new video goes out, and do click like if you did like this video. Now, do join me next time for my contented narrative around, I know we're not supposed to talk about because it is the first rule, but around Fight Club. I'm looking forward to that one. But until then, just remember to always keep it contented.